Hey there. I'm sure you know about the Capes and Lunatics podcast, but have you heard about the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks podcast? It's a fun home for classic and new reviews of just about everything. We have the Ultimate Spider-Cast, where we cover everything Spider-Man. The Quantum Zone, where we talk the classic Marvel character Quasar and do deep dives on the cosmic side of Marvel. We also have Comic Capers, where we cover everything old and new in comics. It could be anything, any company, any decade. And we also have our Media Mondays, where we cover some kind of TV show, be it a Arrowverse current hit or our summer specials, where we do reviews of classic episodes of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer spinoff Angel. So, if you're a fan of pop culture and media, you should really check it out. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
Hi, this is Terry Kavanaugh, and you're listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 163, and you are with your High Priest of KHONSHU, Rey. So welcome again to another episode dedicated to that fantastic Marvel character, Moon Knight. Things are looking good. This moon in the sky, it's a waning crescent. So with that, KHONSHU decrees that we do a LUNAR-PICK classic run review. So for listeners that aren't privy to our show, basically our segments are dictated by the phases of the moon. So tonight, if you look up into the night sky, there is a waning crescent. I'm always reminded as well that I don't have immediately available the chart for any loonies that may be listening and want to know when segments are on, such as, I don't know, the Moon and Stars, where we look at Moon Knight on film. That's on a full moon. I know the new moon, we do our Isla Ra sessions, so I'll put that up somewhere, make it readily available for everyone. But hello everyone, welcome to the show. It's just Rey flying solo for this episode tonight, but I'm looking forward to it. As mentioned, a classic run, and I'll be going through Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 15, Ruling the World from His Basement, and this is by that classic super team, Doug mentioned Bill Sienkiewicz, so this should be a good one. Anyway, as always, a huge thank you to our sponsors. Top of the bill, our patroonies, our Patreon members. So a big thank you to the likes of Dustin, Justin, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, Russell, and Anthony. I got you in there, Jordan, this time. I'm sorry about that last week, but a huge thank you to our patroonies who not only listen to the show, but they support it by backing us with a bit of coin. It's really highly appreciated. Managed to this year hit our second goal, so let's keep it going, and I'll plug the Patreon page again towards the end, but if you can consider becoming a Patreon member, it will be worth your while for sure, don't you worry. Also, our two other sponsors, Hello Headphones, empowering gamers to play at their best. Check out their online store if you need some new headphones. If you want to hear Into the Night in a crisper format, get yourself some good headphones, and we've got some discounts for you as well. And finally, Dreamland Comics from Schaumburg, Illinois, the superhero superstore. Again, we have some discounts there if you shop online and you quote our show. So a big thank you to all our sponsors. Well then, loonies, since it's just yours truly, I can't really do an idle chat unless, well, I am chatting to you, but it's a little difficult doing it by myself. Needless to say, I've been, just busy around the traps reading a lot of comics. I managed to, what did I finish? I did finish an epic collection finally. It was, that was a while ago. It was the Incredible Hulk Volume 1, but currently reading no surprises, some Spider-Woman. I'm reading some Spider-Man Epic Collections, Kraven's Last Hunt. I posted that up in the group. Some of you may know I'll be jumping on in October on the show The Signal of Doom, and we'll be looking at that whole Epic Collection, which includes Kraven's Last Hunt. It's a brilliant run by James D. Matteis. Just reading the usual. I mean, I've got to give these guys a shout out just because I love their show so much. So a big shout out to, you've heard last week, the Drop King Phil Perrich from Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks. I'm an avid listener, and I urge anyone that loves comics, give their shows a go. It's great. It's so varied, and there's something for everyone there. So going back to what I've been saying, what I've been reading a lot of the comics that they are in turn going to discuss. So I've been introduced to Star Blast. I know some of you may or may not know that 90s mini event. Incidentally, I actually posted a bit of a competition on our Facebook group, a guess where. I think I might do it if I do see more obscure appearances of Moon Knight, but it was essentially a guess where this panel's from, which features Moon Knight, and the first loony to respond to it, they will get a sticker, and I'm proud to announce that Looney, the Rick Ball Special, Rick Gentusa, you came in quite quickly there with that response, and it was Star Blast number 1, which was showed Moon Knight there kicking Trump, believe it or not. Not the Trump you're thinking of. It was I believe it might have been a Daredevil villain, but anyway. So I've been reading, Star Blast, stuff like that. Been catching up on my Clone Saga. So again, off the back of our last episode, 162, whereby we managed to speak to industry legends Terry Kavanagh and Howard Mackey. I've just been reading more of the Clone Saga, more of the Scarlet Spider for my stint over at Capes and Lunatic Sidekicks, the Ultimate Spider Cast, the last Tuesday of every month. We cover Scarlet Spider, and I joined Phil and another co-host, Matt, who also does the Quasar podcast. Anyway, Loonies, please check it out. It's really great. I leave feedback there on that show just because I love following the titles that they read, and I can't urge you enough to just check it out. You can actually catch them on live stream as well if you're in the US, or if you're in Australia and you want to wake up early enough or stay up late enough. But it's a lot of fun interacting with those crazy co-hosts there, so I just wanted to give them a bit of a shout out. What else have I been reading? Mainly a lot of Spider-Man stuff, I guess. Been rereading some of the old Moon Knight. That's been pretty cool. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing much has happened in the week. What's happened, Ray? Rambling Ray? What else has happened? Nothing too fantastic. The Boys have come out. I haven't watched it yet. I'm so far behind on TV. Anyway, enough of that. White Noise. Again, nothing much there to report for Moon Knight. I mean, nothing for a while, I imagine, unless there's some news on the comic book front. I don't think we'll hear that much on the TV front for a while. I mean, we're just stuck with what we know. Jeremy Slater, Bo DeMayo, on the TV production side of things. No casting as yet. I think Disney Plus have their priorities elsewhere. The likes of Miss Marvel, She-Hulk and Moon Knight will just take a little bit of a backseat for the meantime, just due to some of the delays with the pandemic and COVID and stuff like that. So no news with any of that. Right, well, we might as well crack into it, Loonies. We're going to go into our LUNAR-PICK Classic Run review. So as mentioned, it is a waning crescent, and this is titled Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 15, Ruling the World from His Basement. Now, this is available on floppy format, but you can also get it on digital. So whether you are a Marvel Unlimited subscriber, or on Comixology, or on Kindle, you should be able to find this one. I'm going to be reading this and referencing it from the Epic Collection that I have, the Moon Knight Volume 2 Epic Collection Shadows of the Moon, which is available available, but also it is available on the older out-of-print Moon Knight Volume 2 Essential Collection. So the old, I guess, newspaper stock, black and white. Really good, actually, really good reading Moon Knight just in that stark kind of black and white and in that kind of fuzzy print. But I'll be referencing it from the Epic Collection, which has its vibrant colours, one and all. So I guess for listeners that haven't heard before, what we usually do, and I haven't done one of these LUNAR-PICK Classic Run reviews for a while, generally I'll go through the credits, those responsible for making this issue possible, followed by a bare bones, which will be courtesy of Wiki, and it is a synopsis in case you haven't got the issue, but you'd still like to follow on with this episode. I'll read out a short synopsis, what I like to call a bare bones, just to summarise what this issue is about. Then I'll kind of go into aspects, and I'm going to jump from stuff like writing, art, themes, like any underlying tones, characterizations. We're talking about voicings for characters, any potential new takes on characters, anything outside the norm, and finally any references to other runs, just to flag for this issue. Finally, I'll be looking at doing a moon rating, and we do have two rating systems. One is the vanilla rating based on the phases of the moon. It's pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. Full moon, that's your ticket. That's 10 out of 10. Blue moon is exceptional. And we also have the KHONSHU's rating system. My old co-host KHONSHU, he's made a patented system marked from 1 to 10 from his perspective of what a moon means to him. Anyway, so let's get into it, loonies. So as mentioned, available on all those sorts of formats. This was published in January 1982. We have writer Doug Moench, penciler and inker Bill Sienkiewicz, colorist Christie Scheele, letterer Joe Rosen, and editor Denny O'Neill. As for the bare bones for this issue, I guess it could be summarised thusly. Someone is attempting to assassinate foreign dignitaries, and at one point Moon Knight is witnessed as the assailant. Spector isn't responsible as far as he knows, but a string of headaches has him worried that a rogue personality may be acting outside his memory. His fears are allayed when the culprit makes a subsequent appearance in a rat costume and calling himself Xenos. It turns out to be Police Sergeant Gwenn, a covertly racist and xenophobic conspiracy theorist that had taken Moon Knight as inspiration, seeing him as a great white knight, until witnessing his hero save the life of an Indian woman and became disillusioned. In their final showdown, Xenos is sneaking up on Moon Knight but accidentally steps on a rat trap, alerting his target and leading to his defeat. That actually was a very succinct. I'm very impressed with whoever wrote that for Wiki. That is a very, very cool nutshell of what this issue is all about. It really covered everything. I really cannot add or subtract anything from that. So anyway, overall impressions for this issue. I guess considering off the back of the previous issue, which was issue 14, which featured Stained Glass Scarlet, this, by some, I guess, in some respects, was a little disappointing. For me, what I think, and I'm only assuming here, there was a bit of a punchiness there at the end where, like, the irony of when Xenos or Sergeant Gwenn got stepped on a rat trap and it alerted Moon Knight and it enabled Moon Knight to defeat Sergeant Gwenn. I feel kind of like Doug Moench built a story around that concept, because it was I did find it quite funny, actually, that and it was so unexpected, but the irony was quite sweet for me. I don't know, I just have this feeling that maybe Doug Moench built on that little kernel of an idea to build a whole story. overall, though, it does bring up some interesting, I guess, some interesting ideas in the story about Moon Knight, about his supporting characters. I felt the character the villain was a little, I don't know, I guess a little corny and just a little not right. He just obviously seems like a one and done villain, so there wasn't too much to him. Even the costume design, the aesthetics was very strange. He was literally dressing up as a fully grown rat. But anyway, let's get into some of the details here. I'm starting to do that, but so for writing, okay. So as I mentioned, it seems like the rat trap, that was the little kind of concept that Doug Moench decided to build a whole story around. On top of that, he fleshed it out to being, okay, so who is the villain? It's this guy who's basically a xenophobe, a racist as well, and he wants to basically cause trouble. What I was thinking, though, was, okay, so he's aiming for foreign dignitaries, fair enough, but I was still trying to kind of grapple as to what his strategy was. Was it just an act of terrorism, like just to cause fear? Was it a strategic move to, say, remove that Japanese foreign dignitary for some reason, to actually stop something, stop a potential process? It just didn't seem to have been explained well enough as to what his overall strategy was. Or it could have been just that he was as mad as a hatter, and he was just kind of going aimlessly, doing willy-nilly stuff just for the sake of it. So anyway, it was an interesting take. I did find, albeit his strategy being a bit weird, it was a very interesting idea to have this villain as this essentially a racist, a hater of foreigners, and a xenophobe. And of course, what we see in here as well is that there is an affiliation or an influence, at least, with Adolf Hitler. So immediately, red flag. We know without a shadow of a doubt that this guy is bad, and he's the guy that we should be rooting against. So interesting, and looking back on it now as well, I didn't pick it up again. Brilliantly written by the Wiki. Moon Knight at the beginning, he saves an Indian woman from a falling tree branch, and when I was reading it, I was kind of thinking that's an odd thing to kind of point out, and why did Doug Moench make it so specific an ethnicity for this woman? But I guess at the end of the day, as the Wiki explains it, actually explained it a lot better, the fact that Moon Knight saves her, disillusioned Sergeant Gwenn, who had previously looked up to Moon Knight as the White Knight, and I kind of get it then. There was a reference of they didn't know whether it was a rogue Klansman, who caused the crime, but essentially, Gwenn had said. Oh, actually, I'm picking up an inconsistency. I was about to say Gwenn had said no, he was pretty sure it was Moon Knight. That's why they set up this sting. And I thought this was a cool thing. This sting that Detective Flint set up to kind of trap Moon Knight. If we're talking about characterizations, I was a little taken aback by this behavior of Detective Flint. It seemed that initially in the Moench run, he really went out on a limb to trust and have faith in Moon Knight, and there seemed to be some sort of rapport between the two. In this issue, he seems to have forgotten that and hold Moon Knight suspicious of the actions. He's been accused of something, and he's suspicious of Moon Knight, which I would have thought may have been against his character because he took that leap of faith with him to begin with. I mean, so it was kind of like, why now? Why has he lost his faith? I kind of understand it because what Moench does really well. He ties it into this idea. I mean, Flint says it himself. He says, good eggs can go bad. That's happened. And what we see at the end of the story is that Sergeant Gwenn, who what was it? He had 9 citations of bravery in the line of duty, 14 years on the force. So he was an upstanding sergeant, a police officer, but he went bad. And I guess that was the whole thing as well. And Flint says it at the end, well, as I told you before, Moon Knight, good guys can go bad, and this is exactly what happened. But having said that, to get to that point, it just seemed that it went against the character of Detective Flint. So anyway, going back to another thought which I just came about when I was describing, I guess, Sergeant Gwenn and his racism and stuff. Now, in the wiki, though, it did say that he became disillusioned of Moon Knight because he saved the Indian woman. Now, this happened after the sting had been set up. So Gwenn must have been disillusioned with Moon Knight before that incident that he saved the Indian woman from the falling tree branch. So it does make sense there. That wiki excerpt, I think, is wrong in that sense, because Sergeant Gwenn and Detective Flint are already there trying to trap Moon Knight, and even then Flint says, are you sure you thought it was Moon Knight who did those, who took out that assassination attempt on the foreign dignitary? So by that stage, he had already lost faith in Moon Knight, which is a shame because I kind of like the way that the wiki had described it. That would have actually played in a lot better, and actually given a lot more purpose to Moon Knight saving an Indian woman, someone of a particular ethnicity. Otherwise, it's just a really random point, and it's very subtle. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that it was mentioned in the wiki, I don't think I would have picked up on it at all. So going to that, as for writing again, what I found, jumping back to the ending, because what Moench does, he really does lead us astray, because we do see towards the middle of the comic, we see Xenos and him unmasked actually, and we see him buying stuff from the groceries, buying the soldier outfits for his rats, and walking back home, smiling to all these people of different backgrounds. But then as they walk past, he has this kind of grizzling look on his face, and Moench leads us astray here with the simplest of techniques, and basically it looks like a different guy. So we can't tell. For all intents that we know, this is a different guy. So we have a face to the villain, but at the end, what I'm getting towards is that it's a really kind of like a Scooby-Doo ending. I mean, and Moon Knight takes off the rubber mask, and it's Sergeant Gwenn underneath. I find that a little unfair in the sense that it seemed like an easy way out. I mean, again, technique-wise, we are led astray by visually seeing a different villain. But then it being Sergeant Gwenn, I mean, how could we know? You know what I mean? We have no chance of figuring that out because it's that kind of easy way out of just, you'll rip off the rubber mask, it's him underneath. So I was a little bit, I don't know what you say, disappointed or just kind of like, a bit unimpressed by that reveal. I do like, having read the issue, there is a little bit where there's a bit of a fracas towards the end. Where is it? It's just before Xenos tries to make his second assassination attempt on that foreign dignitary, on Trade Minister Sakata. But we see Gwenn actually run away, check something out. Here we go. It says, in the crowd, 2 of those men, Detective Flint and Sergeant Gwenn, conceal their concern better than most. It says, I see the Secret Service boys are here, can't blame him, not after last night. Your side secure, Gwenn? And then Sergeant Gwenn goes, I'll go check it out. That was a nice, clever way to have him go. and not be present when Xenos, who we now know is Sergeant Gwenn, comes in the rat suit, and really he kind of really botches his assassination attempt. I don't know, it's pretty careless. It doesn't seem skilled or anything like that, and I guess this is what kind of makes this villain, for me, not that effective. He seems to be... Moon Knight would seem to be way above his league. He's not a professional assassin. He's just haphazardly trying to shoot this guy. And so Moon Knight should make light work of him. And he kind of does as well. I mean, there's a bit of a chase towards the end with Moon Knight. And as I mentioned, what happens is that the rat trap is Xenos's or Sergeant Gwenn's final undoing. But he's by no means a formidable enemy. The one thing I did find interesting, and again, this is just so weird. I don't know. I'd love to know what Doug Moench's influence for this story is, or what kind of, apart from the rat trap, if it is a rat trap, but what it was that actually motivated him to do this. Because so towards the climax, when Moon Knight's fighting, chasing after Xenos, Sergeant Gwenn, he gets attacked by the rats that are dressed as soldiers, and he gets some goop kind of smashed over him, like Gwenn throws a jar of this goop on him. It's rat food, so Moon Knight gets attacked by a horde of rats. Pretty scary. I mean, in reality, if you think about it, that would be a pretty frightening thing, especially if the rats are starved or hungry. They could have a mean bite, I'm pretty sure. But having said that as well, Moon Knight, although he isn't superpowered, he is a superhero. I think eventually, inevitably, I think he would have no problems with these rats. But it was an interesting aesthetic, an interesting visual to see him kind of combat these rats and Xenos at the same time. So with a little extra effort, he finally manages to get all the rats. He just basically screams out, "Get off me, off me, off!" And all the rats seem to go away. But yeah, so interesting bit of writing there. Another little interesting bit of writing for me. Again, it's kind of, I guess it gives off that creepy vibe. So Doug Moench has, we know, I'm going to call him Sergeant Gwenn now because we know Xenos is Gwenn, has him dress the rats as soldiers. I just thought that's a bit weird. What is going on here? It's the guy's obviously unhinged. But basically at the end of the day, it wasn't used really to that much effect. We did see the horde of rats at the end. Maybe that was it. Maybe that was what this whole thing was building up. But it just seemed, I don't know. I would have loved to have seen maybe it's an art thing. Maybe Bill Sienkiewicz show off the rats in their uniforms a bit more when they attack Moon Knight. Actually, they're all seen as, well, apart from one rat, they're all seen as basically like naked rats, if you know what I mean. They don't have any military attire on. So it was strange. I think it was just meant to give that unsettling vibe as to this guy and how mentally unstable he is. But we'll see. Anyway. Another thing of writing, I can't forget this, and I think this is... Actually, I found this the most interesting out of this issue, is that we see, and again, it was summarized in the Wiki quite well. We see Mark Spector beginning to, I guess, struggle with his identities. Now, is issue 15 the start of when Moench is starting to kind of crystallize or retcon that idea that not only is Moon Knight or Mark Spector playing these characters in order to infiltrate and essentially go undercover as different identities, but is issue 15, is this the start of when Moench has gone, maybe it'd be interesting if he's actually literally struggling with multiple identities, or what we later know have termed more recently as dissociative identity disorder. So we see from the outset that Moon Knight is he's got a headache, And I didn't really pick up this before as well. I just thought, again, another random idea. Like, why has he got a headache? Maybe it's just something to give him a point of difference for the story. But it actually makes sense. He's struggling. And although he admits to Marlene that he has left that kind of dark period behind, he very much is struggling with these identities. It doesn't exactly say that. So what does it say in the wiki? It mentions has him worried that a rogue personality may be acting outside his memory. I didn't actually grab that. I didn't get that from reading this. So there's nothing to say that is what has happened and that is why the headaches are there. But I like that take. We don't see too much further about this. The most significant for me really is this interaction he has with Marlene, and anyway, so he's got these headaches and stuff, and he wants to go out anyway to fight crime. And it says here, let me just read it out. Still miffed, Marlene nevertheless softens. Trouble, Stephen? Only as Moon Knight. Grant, Lockley, and Spector are just fine, thank you. So that was Mark saying he's having a little bit of trouble as Moon Knight. And Marlene says, I'm sorry, Stephen, I shouldn't be so selfish. I know the pressures you're under trying to be 4 different people. But you're not really having trouble again, are you? Psychological trouble. So she's identified it as there's something a lot more going on with his identities. We do see, earlier on as well, we do see some psychological problems with Mark. Let me see if I can flick back. I believe it was... I'm just going to... it might have been issue 3, I think, 3 and 4 with the Midnight Man. Or it could be, oh my gosh, sorry, Loonies. It could be the one a bit later. It's when he goes a little bit crazy when the KHONSHU statue was destroyed, which I believe was before this, because I'm sure we've already covered it. So he has shown some psychological problems before, but it looks like that they may come out again. So I'm just having a look here quickly, because I've got my volume 2. I'm pretty sure it's in here somewhere. Not 11. There we go. It's a 10. So we're looking at about... so Moon Knight issues 9 and 10. That's when he gets really worried and kind of frantic that the KHONSHU statue is destroyed because he has so much faith in it. I think he mentally crumbles a little there. That was when he was holding up the skull, when he was standing on top of that building. Anyway, so this is the first sign again, but it's more so connected to his multiple personalities. So anyway, Mark continues and goes, "No, Marlene, I'm not. You helped me out of that dark hole, and I'm still standing on firm ground." But the thing that got me really was towards the end there, that last panel on the page. Sienkiewicz does really an inimitable panel there of just Mark's face in kind of stark black, but just kind of icy blue and white, and he just softly says no. So just preceding that, Marlene says, "Good, then hurry and dress for the party. I know you're all right, Stephen. It's just Mark Spector I worry about, and sometimes Jake Lockley, even Moon Knight. I know it's silly, but I sometimes think you won't be able to keep them all under control, and that they'll do something to spoil what we've made for you." And then we get that kind of haunting panel of him just saying no. So I think it's a little bit of foreboding as to his mental state, and it was it's very interesting, I think. So that was the main, I think, interest that got me in this issue, kind of delving a little bit into his psyche. So, I mean, talking about themes, the main one, I guess, would be the xenophobia from Xenos, his hatred of foreigners. There also seems to be, because Moon Knight acknowledges it, that there's a parallel between himself and Xenos. I didn't really pick that up. Let me just go back, because I think even Xenos in his monologue, I was seeing if he... No, whether Xenos was... his actions were somehow parallel to Mark's, but I don't really see that. But Moon Knight does mention that. Interesting, actually, this last epilogue. I'm going to read this one out as well, and it's basically one panel. Frenchie's scratching his head in the background, Mark in his Moon Knight costume, but he's kind of sitting down with Marlene, who's kind of reclining a bit on the sofa. And this is the epilogue. Mark says, not that I ever actually believed I was the assassin, but, well, like a certain cop has said, any mind can go bad, and maybe in a way, I did do it. We seem to be living in a nightmare these days. Maybe in a way we all did it. A sobering thought. Did what? Sorry. Is it discriminate? Maybe? Yeah, I must say, I figured it was that. I'm sorry, Gwenn was a good man, I'd like to say. Yeah, maybe go bad. So maybe he's like a sobering thought, and then Marlene says, yes, but at least you have the strength and sense to admit something like that, Stephen, even if we keep at it. Maybe if we keep at it, keep trying, we'll all wake up someday soon. I think he's alluding to going bad. So this might be showing Mark's guilty conscience again, maybe reflecting on his mercenary days, I'm imagining. It's a very strange... It makes you think, this epilogue as well. It's kind of quite open to a lot of interpretation. But I remember being a little kind of like, oh, this is really kind of deep, and I'm not sure what this was connecting or in relation to, but I guess because the previous two panels was about Moon Knight and Detective Flint talking about how Sergeant Gwenn has gone bad, and Moon Knight goes, yeah, I know all about that. Yeah, but I don't understand why Mark's saying, not that I ever actually believed I was the assassin. Well, but like a certain cop said, any mind can go bad, and maybe in a way I did do it. Like he didn't do it. Like he did. So anyway, the way I'm interpreting it is that he has a guilty conscience of some sort. So the writing, I think, as thought-provoking as it is, it can seem to be a little confusing, that I found in this issue, and maybe some of those ideas, as mentioned, that were picked up in Wiki, they weren't... I really sound like a Philistine. They weren't obvious enough. They were very subtle, like that Indian woman. Because I'm going back to that point. I mean, which is wrong, because the fact that it was called out that she was Indian does not in any way connect to Gwenn's eventual disillusionment of Moon Knight, if that makes sense. So the writing, it really weaves around. So I do like Doug Moench's writing, but sometimes it can get a little bit inconsistent with some of the details. But there you go. Anyway, where else is there? Xenos, I've got other notes here. Characterization, Xenos is creepy, as I mentioned before. I think that was established with him dressing up the rats, with him being essentially a loner and having a basement, and dressing up as a rat, which incidentally is a very good costume. Looked very lifelike. He'd give Vermin a good run for his money, I think. So as for references to other runs, the only one I could think of was the one that I mentioned. So issues 9 and 10 of Mark Spector Moon Knight's mental state. It's kind of come back again, that there's some sort of fragility to it. But other than that, Detective Flint, perhaps, because he's popped up. He popped up early, I believe, issue 1, I believe, and also in the issue with Morpheus, issue 12, I'm going to say, potentially. So I mean, that's not really a reference. It's just another time where you've seen that character. But I like Flint. I like Detective Flint. I think it's great. I liked him more when he kind of trusted Moon Knight a little bit more. But hey, he doesn't know him that well, so he's got to maybe be a little bit suspicious if he's going to do his job properly. Yeah, so anyway, loonies, I think that about wraps it up for me. Bit of a Rey Ramble there, but I'm hoping that kind of got into this issue. I'll just finally cap it off with art as well. We're seeing the growth of Bill Sienkiewicz here. I really like this art. It's very different from other comic books, other comic characters as well. I did read, it was part of the Clone Saga, it was Spectacular Spider-Man, I think it was 122, and it was amazing. It had Sal Buscema, but also Bill Sienkiewicz on breakdowns or on inks, and you could very much see it to be a Sienkiewicz kind of artwork. But it really was so different to see in a Spider-Man comic. I mean, albeit a darker, thing with the Jackal and the clones and such, but it was really different. It gave off a really different vibe. Sienkiewicz was using all those techniques that he uses here with like the lighting, the glare of like the lamp, or the use of those textured strokes across the face, similar to that panel that I mentioned, which was a foreboding of Mark just saying no, very kind of artsy kind of looking panels. It was very different, and it reminded me of how unique, I guess, this Moon Knight run is, because Sienkiewicz's art outside of it at that time, during this time, just seems really not out of place. I mean, he can draw anything really, really well, but I guess he has added so much to that tone of Moon Knight that Doug Moench has kind of complemented with his writing. So anyway, so art here was great. There's one bit here, it's the second last page, where Sergeant Gwenn, when he's about to bury the hatchet at the back of Moon Knight, there's a big snap and his eyes are just wide open when he steps on the rat trap. There's a great bit of artwork there. Again, playing a lot around with the layouts. I guess in this issue as well, no surprises around this time, Sienkiewicz was filling a lot of the page. Like, we're talking about a lot of panels here, a lot of small to medium sized panels. Not too much in the way of splash pages. The first page is just like one big splash page, but other than that, we get quite a few panels in there, and it opens up again the panels with when Moon Knight fights the policeman, but once it gets to him as Jake Lockley, as Stephen, and we see Xenos, the panels the pages are full, and they're really good. They really fill it out. So I'm just wondering I'm interested to know, because there is a lot of thought in the panel layouts. I wonder what Sienkiewicz was going for here. A lot of it is very kind of linear, but we only get, again, which is it's not a special technique by any means, but Sienkiewicz he only uses, actually the only angled panel he uses is when Moon Knight hits that left cross on Xenos towards the end and knocks him out. Kind of gives it a bit of a dynamic kind of movement of his left cross landing into the face of Sergeant Gwenn. Yes, I really love the art. The colours were cool, kind of very dark. Xenos was very earthy, just brown, basically. But we see those light glints that Sienkiewicz loves doing. So there's a team of police officers there with their badges shining. There's the flashlights here from Moon Knight, all kind of synonymous with Sienkiewicz art. It's really cool. And distinct faces to Sergeant Gwenn, and I wonder if he's fashioned after someone in particular. He has very much an early 80s haircut, if I can say that. Anyway, Loonies, I'm going to give this a rating now. I'm going to go I'm just going to go the KHONSHU's rating system, but it's pretty similar to the vanilla rating. I'm going to give this a 5.5 out of 10. Half the moon, I would call it. It did have some interesting points in this, some interesting ideas, and as I mentioned, the main one for me, I guess historically for Moon Knight, is seeing this first idea of him really starting to struggle with his like multiple identities. So an important issue in that respect. As for the villain was I think a little lackluster. There are a lot better villains that Moench has created during his run. A guy in the basement dressing up rats with army, soldier clothes is just a little too weird for me, I think. But I admire Moench for trying something absolutely random. And I did find, as mentioned, some of the writing, especially say that epilogue, to be quite... just had me asking questions. It was very open-ended. It was a little ambiguous. So I couldn't really make much of that. But yeah, 5.5 I think is a decent one. Let me know what you think, loonies, of this issue. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Which reminds me, for our night lines though, we did get some feedback, and I'd like to thank Noel Looney Tunes Tate for this one. And this was on our Facebook group, and Noel writes, number 15, Frank Miller cover. One of the few of Volume 1 I don't own in floppies. Fun and frightening story, and more evidence that Moench was digging more into Moon Knight's DID than he admits. Yep, the artwork by our boy Billy is very Neil Adams, but still dark and dynamic, and has that Sienkiewicz thing. We will see a lot more in coming issues, absolutely. I love it when Jean-Paul and Marlene call Moon Knight by different names in the same panel. Yes, very cool. Yeah, it's I don't know whether it was some by mistake as well. There are sometimes, oh no, that was with the spelling. But yeah, it's interesting that they all call him different things. Like Marlene prefers him, I think, as Stephen, and Frenchie, I think, prefers him as Mark, because that's where they kind of they bonded as mercenaries. So everyone, views Mark in a different way, views Moon Knight in a different way, and it was a nice touch there, especially with this introduction of his identities maybe starting to get the better of him. So no, thank you, Noel. Very cool. Thanks for your thoughts. And again, yeah, loonies, please just, although I have given a rundown to this issue, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this issue. Give it a read. It's readily available. Just let's keep the discussion going. Anyway, loonies, that will be it for me. Thank you so much for listening. Next phase, and I've actually put something out there already in our groups and on the social platform, it'll be episode 164. The phase of the moon will be a first quarter, and we're looking at KHONSHU's Relics. So KHONSHU's Relics is a segment that could really cover anything that isn't Moon Knight on film or in the comic books. And it could be actually loony-centric as well. It could be about you, the loony listeners, you, the Moon Knight fans. So I've put a call out there on Facebook, and on Twitter and on Instagram as well. Anyone who might be keen on having a chat with old Ray here, just put your hand up, let me know, and let's see if we can make it happen. As well, as you can tell, I'm Australian, so time zones will have to work out if you are from elsewhere. But I'd love to have a chat with some of the fellow loonies, and I've had the great fortune of chatting with so many loonies so far as well, who I continue to chat with, and I really enjoy. I just really enjoy our discussions. So it'd be really good to hear from any of the other loonies there. If you have been listening and you've ever thought of, I wouldn't mind coming on and giving my thoughts. I'd love to either talk about and discuss your Moon Knight collection, if you have a substantial Moon Knight collection. If you have the Walgreens exclusive Moon Knight Marvel Legends figure, we could do an action figure review on that. That would be cool. I haven't got mine yet. I'm still waiting. I've got mine on the I had mine on pre-order and at the moment it's still kind of on its way. But you never know, that could turn up soon. It'd be nice to have it in front of me to actually go through the action figure. But if you have it yourself and would like to give it a review yourself, I'm happy to come on board and to bounce off your ideas on the action figure. And finally, this is the other one, which I know there are some loonies out there that do cosplay. I don't believe I've had a cosplayer on. I came close once, so I know, Sparky, if you're listening, we never did get to finish our conversation, but for any other loony listeners out there that do love cosplaying and want to come on and talk about it, I'm interested to know, how you got into cosplaying, what it takes to become a cosplayer, what it takes to build or make your own costume. I think some of the costumes are phenomenal. So again, put your hand up and contact me if you can, if you want, through some of our social media platforms, which I will get to in a second. I've just got to round out this episode with our last Spector call again to our sponsors. So as mentioned at the top of the show, please consider our Patreon page, patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight. There's plenty of incentives there. I just dropped the latest digest, the digest for September through to a bit of October. It's chock full of previews, so you kind of get to know what's up ahead for the next 5 or 6 episodes, plus what's in the works for our audio drama serial, which is still going, loonies. We have episode 13 coming. Hopefully I can get that out by the end of September. It's been a hoot. We're edging towards the end of the first season for that audio drama. But the digest has stuff like that. It has stuff, news on the Patreon front. Also, what else? The news on our involvement in the Fantasy Comic League. A big shout out to Brian there, Brian Bradley, running the Fantasy Comic League. It's we've got a division there, believe it or not. If you want in. Just let me know as well. The season has started, but you could win yourself a trade paperback of choice, all for just choosing your draft team of superheroes. So a whole heap of that are articles on Paint Monk Library, which chronicles Moon Knight's comic book journey from 1975 onwards. So it's all there in the digest, but plus also you get bonus episodes. I recently released an exclusive just under 2-hour chat that both Phil the Drop King and myself had with Terry Kavanagh and Howard Mackey, only available for Patreon members there. So yeah, plenty to check out. If you do, I love you if you don't, and I love you if you do. I love you if you're listening, so thank you. Also, as mentioned, sponsored by Hello Headphones. If you use the code ITK Moon Knight in their promo code, you'll get 10% off their online store, so go grab your headphones at 10% off. Similarly, on Dreamland Comics, if you use the code MOON in their promo code, you'll get 20% off any of the back issues that you order through them, and they've got a wide range of back issues. Those guys there are really good, so go check them out if you can. We're affiliate members of Entertainment Earth, so see if you can get your action figures through there. Just click the link on our show notes, and we'll get a little bit of that to help prop up the show as well. But hopefully there'll be some discounts there. There are, I know. I think the Ant-Man and Wasp, Ghost, and damn it, I can't remember his name. The funny dude, the Offsider, to Scott Lang. Anyway, that's on discount. There's a lot of discounts on Entertainment Earth. Go check it out. Well worth your eyes. And finally, we are part of the collective. Look, we're still going strong. There are plenty of great shows out there, like The Signal of Doom by Dave Finn, straight from the swamp, doing well. I noticed there was a return of Natasha there, so a lot of great conversations. Also, as mentioned as well, I'll give them a shout out again, the Capes and Lunatics sidekicks, so a big shout out there to Phil, the likes of Lilith, Matt, Will, Charlie, Tyler, James. They're all doing great. Kristen as well. Fantastic stuff. There's a bit of something for everyone. TV shows, comic books, you name it, just comic news. These guys are good. They're heaps of fun. and I urge you to give them a good listen. Or I think EMP, Earth's Mightiest Podcast, the boys over there, they do some great work. Again, they also do stuff on Avengers, X-Men, or Deadpool as well. So great banter from them. Episode in, episode out. Anyway, so as mentioned, you can email me at itkmoonnight@gmail.com, or you can contact me on Facebook, our page and group, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, Get Vocal, on our website, through Patreon, or on the Podchaser as well. You can contact the show anywhere through that. And like I said, if you're keen to show off your wares as a Moon Knight collector or as a Moon Knight cosplayer, or if you want to review that action figure, let us know and we'll make it happen. So thanks once again, Loonies. I'm gonna bail, get out of here. Enjoy your week. By the time this comes, it's over half the week's gone. So hopefully this will drop off to you, for US listeners, around Wednesday evening, I'd imagine, Wednesday afternoon. I hope you're enjoying your week, hump day, and just keep on listening to great podcasts. Keep on listening to some of the collective members. They're really good as well. And I'll sign off by saying, as always, may KHONSHU watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.